Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Nārayaṇam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati ruttama-shloke bhaktir-bhavati naistiki. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-anjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa-kadamayyam Dadati Svapadantikam. Namo Viṣṇu-padāya Krishna-prishtāya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 15, Description of the Kingdom of God. So, very elaborately we have seen yesterday how to enter the Kingdom of God. And this is possible through chanting the holy names of the Lord, but we have to chant without offenses. And Srila Prabhupada mentions how we have to develop the Vaishnava qualities, how to avoid the offenses, and one should take shelter of Sri Sri Gaurnita, especially Panchatattva, to very quickly attain the desired success, that is Krishna Prema. Now we come to text 26. We enter the third section of this chapter, Chaturdashi. These are the two doorkeepers at Vaikuṇṭha. So text 26. Tat Vishwagurum Adhikritam Bhuvanaikavadyam Vandyam Divyam Vichitram Vibudu Achaya Vimana Shochihi Apu Param Mudamapurva Upetya Vyogam Maya Balena Munayastatado Vaikuṇṭham. Translation.
Thus the great sages Sanaka, Sanātana, Sanandana, and Sanat-kumāra, upon reaching the above-mentioned Vaikuṇṭha in the spiritual world, by dint of their mystic yoga performance, perceived unprecedented happiness. They found that the spiritual sky was illuminated by highly decorated aeroplanes, piloted by the best devotees of Vaikuṇṭha, and was predominated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second. He is above everyone. No one is equal to him, nor is anyone greater than him. Therefore, he is described here as a Vishwaguru. He is the prime living entity of the entire material and spiritual creation and is Bhuvanaika Vandyam, the only worshipable personality in the three worlds. The airplanes in the spiritual sky are self-illuminated and are piloted by great devotees of the Lord. In other words, in the Vaikuṇṭha planets, there is no scarcity of the things which are available in the material world. They are available, but they are more valuable because they are spiritual and therefore eternal and blissful. The sages felt an unprecedented happiness because Vaikuṇṭha was not predominated by an ordinary man. The Vaikuṇṭha planets are predominated by expansions of Krishna who are differently named as Madhusudana, Madhava, Nārāyaṇa, Pradyumna, etc. These transcendental planets are worshipable because the personality of Godhead personally rules them. It is said here that the sages reached the transcendental spiritual sky by dint of their mystic power. That is the perfection of yoga system. The breathing exercises and disciplines to keep health in proper order are not the ultimate goals of yoga perfection. The yoga system, as generally understood, is Ashtanga Yoga or Siddhi eightfold perfection in yoga. By dint of perfection in yoga, one can become lighter than the lightest and heavier than the heaviest. One can go wherever he likes and can achieve opulences as he likes. There are 8 such perfections. The rishis, the 4 Kumaras, reached Vaikuṇṭha by becoming lighter than the lightest and thus passing over the space of material world. Modern mechanical space vehicles are unsuccessful because they cannot go to the highest region of this material creation, and they certainly cannot enter the spiritual sky. But by perfection of the yoga system, one not only can travel through material space, but can surpass material space and enter the spiritual sky. We learn this fact also from an incident concerning Durvasa Muni and Maharaj Ambarisha. It is understood that in 1 year, Durvasa Muni traveled everywhere and went into the spiritual sky to meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nārāyaṇa. By present standards, scientists calculate that if one could travel at the speed of light, it would take 40,000 years to reach the highest planet of this material world. But the yoga system can carry one without limitation or difficulty. The word Yogamaya is used in this verse. Yogamaya balena Vaikuṇṭam. The transcendental happiness exhibited in the spiritual world and all other spiritual manifestations there are made possible by the influence of Yogamaya, the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Now the incident is going to take place. The great sages Sanaka, Sanātana, Sanandana and Sanat-kumāra, upon reaching the above mentioned Vaikuṇṭha, so Vaikuṇṭha very elaborately described, above mentioned Vaikuṇṭha, by the dint of their mystic yoga performance, perceived unprecedented happiness. They found that the spiritual sky was illuminated by highly decorated airplanes piloted by the best of the devotees of the Vaikuṇṭha and predominated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the entry of the Chatushkumar, the great sages there entering. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the Supreme Lord is known as Vishwaguru, Vande Krishnam Jagadguru. The Lord is called as Vishwaguru because there is nobody equal to or greater than him, Asama Urdhva. He is also called as Bhuvanaikavandyam, that is the primeval personality worth offering obeisances unto. And therefore, he is called as Bhuvanaikavandyam. So these are the two words, Vishwaguru and Bhuvanaikavandyam. When the Chatushkumar, they were entering Vaikuṇṭha planets, they could see there is no scarcity in the Vaikuṇṭha. In the material world, there is always a kuntha. Kuntha means anxiety because there is scarcity. Scarcity of opportunities, scarcity of wealth, scarcity of jobs, scarcity of... But Vaikuṇṭha world, there is absolutely no scarcity. And the world which is ruled by the Supreme Lord, which are different expansions of Sri Krishna, and therefore, because the Lord is personally ruling them, this is what people aspire for, Ramarajya, right? So this is the Ramarajya. Lord is ruling all the Vaikuṇṭha planets. And there was absolutely no scarcity. They could see great abundance and prosperity everywhere, that every person having their own aeroplane and moving around. Okay, so again here, Vimana Shochihi. Vimana is not just a passing reference, okay? In this very chapter, we have seen Vimana third time. And therefore, they felt extreme, unprecedented happiness. Somebody may wonder how this personality is reached Vaikuṇṭha. So Srila Prabhupada says, these great sages were actually the Ashtanga yogis and they had perfected the Ashta Yoga system. And one of the perfection there is one can become lighter than the air and one can travel at any place. In fact, Srila Prabhupada used to say that many times even Naga Babas, they also travel this kind of route. You know, they will travel, they will dip in one place in Ganga, see in Haridwar, and they will themselves appear in Prayagraj, right? We have seen thousands of Naga Babas coming, but suddenly, you know, a matter of those 4 or 5 days of Shahi Snan, and everybody is just disappeared. They are at their own place. So, of course, not all Naga Babas may have Siddhi, but some of the perfected personalities, they do have siddhi. And thus these four Kumaras, they become lighter than the air and simply traveled by the pace of the mind. Srila Prabhupada says the modern times also, they have perfected the art of traveling in the air, but that travel is a very slow air travel, right? And it will take thousands of years even to reach the highest planet within this material world. And those times, by their advancement, they thought that we will reach the end of the universe by 40,000 light years if we travel at the speed of light. And now the whole thing has gone topsy-turvy. But the point here is that by the dint of yogic process, one can travel with the speed of one's mind, which is far greater than the speed of light, right? And Srila Prabhupada says, not only this, we have another reference in Bhagavatam where one can see the devotees traveling like this. So we have their personality, Durvasa Muni, who is traveling across the universe, and he also reached the Vaikuṇṭha planet when there was a incident between Durvasa Muni and Maharaj Ambarish. This is called as Yoga Balena. Yoga Balena means because the spiritual world is ruled by the Supreme Lord, by the internal potency, therefore the Yoga Maya, the internal potency, there is unprecedented happiness. So this is the place Chatushkumar reached. They were feeling extremely happy, and when they were about to enter Vaikuṇṭha, they encountered here. Text 27. मीनतित्यमुनयो षडसज्जमाना कक्षा समानवयसो अथ सप्तमायां दैवौ चक्षत गृहीतगदौ परार्ध्य केयूरकुण्डलकिरीट विकण्ठवेशौ. Translation?
Translation. After passing through the 6 entrances of Vaikuṇṭha Puri, the Lord's residence, without feeling astonishment at all the decorations, they saw at the 7th gate 2 shining beings of the same age, armed with maces and adorned with most valuable jewelry, earrings, diamonds, helmets, garments, etc. Purport. The sages were so eager to see the Lord within Vaikuṇṭha Puri that they did not care to see the transcendental decorations of the 6 gates, which they passed by one after another. But at the 7th door, they found 2 doormen of the same age. The significance of the doormen's being of the same age is that in the Vaikuṇṭha planets, there is no old age. So, one cannot distinguish who is older than whom. The inhabitants of Vaikuṇṭha are decorated like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nārāyaṇa, with Sanaka, Chakra, Gada, and Padma, conch, wheel, club, and lotus. Hare Krishna.
Being very, very excited, this Chatushkumar, they began to pass through, feeling great transcendental happiness. They passed the 6 gates of Vaikuṇṭha. And suddenly at the 7th gate, they saw 2 shining beings, Jaya and Vijaya. Saptam Ayam. So this is the 7th gate. And what is they saw? They saw Samanavayaha. They are of the same age and they were decorated with Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, the sages were so eager to see the Supreme Lord, they did not care about the transcendental decorations of the 6 gates. Like, you have this Vaikuṇṭha Ekadashi, and Vaikuṇṭha Ekadashi, you will see that gates of the Viṣṇu temples, especially Balaji temple, they will be so beautifully decorated. In temple, ISKCON temple also, ISKCON Balaji we have. They will have a beautiful decoration. You are passing through that Vaikuṇṭha Ekadashi gate. They passed through 6 such gates, but they did not get distracted by the decorations in a way, because they were very, very eager to meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the 7th gate, it was equally decorated, but there were 2 personalities they saw who were decorated with Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, almost having the form like the Viṣṇu. They were Viṣṇu Dutas, and they were Samanavayasa. In further, Prabhupada said Samanavaya means they are of the same age. Same age means in the Vaikuṇṭha there is no old age. So this Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Doshana Darshanam, they are not there in the Vaikuṇṭha world. And therefore, the Vaikuṇṭha is also called as Apunarbhavam. Correct? What is Apunarbhava? Means there is no death there in Vaikuṇṭha. There is no old age. So Prabhupada says here, so one cannot distinguish who is older than whom, because everybody is, of course, they will have their own Svarupa and their own relationship with the Supreme Lord, and they were decorated with Shankha Chakra Gada Padma. Text 28. Mattadvirefa varmalika nivetau vinistaya asita jatushtabha madhye Vaktram Bhruva Kutilaya Sputinirgamabhyam Pratyekshanaja Managrabhasam Dadhano. Translate.
The two doormen were garlanded with fresh flowers, which attracted intoxicated bees, and which were placed around their necks and between their four blue arms. From their arched eyebrows, discontented nostrils, and reddish eyes, they appeared somewhat agitated. Purport. Their garlands attracted swarms of bees because they were garlands of fresh flowers. In the Vaikuṇṭha world, everything is fresh, new, and transcendental. The inhabitants of Vaikuṇṭha have bodies of bluish color and four hands like Nārāyaṇa.
Now here is the description of these two doormen. They were garlanded with the fresh flowers, which attracted the intoxicated bees. This you can see in the temple also. Many times, you will see the bees right there, around the garland. And this is the proof that the garlands are very, very fresh. The flowers are very fresh. They had the four blue arms, arched eyebrows, discontented nostrils, reddish eyes, and they appeared somewhat agitated. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, when the flowers are fresh, they will attract the swarms of the bees. Right? And Vaikuṇṭha world, everything is fresh, everything is new, everything is transcendental, everything is organic. You will not find plastic in Vaikuṇṭha. Okay. Neither the plastic garland. So their bodies there, Prabhupada says, they are bluish in color and they have the four hands like Nārāyaṇa. So they were exhibiting Sarupya Mukti, having the same Rupa as the Supreme Lord. Text 29. Dvarirtvayo nivishishu mishatopaprishta purva yatha puratavajrakapatikaya sarvatra teshamaya munaya swadrushtya ye sancharanti abhiya vigata bhishanka. Translation.
The great sages, headed by Sanaka, had opened doors everywhere. They had no idea of ours and theirs. With open minds, they entered the seventh door out of their own will, just as they had passed through the six other doors, which were made of gold and diamonds. Purport. The great sages, namely Sanaka, Sanātana, Sanandana, Sanandana, and Sanat-kumāra, although very old in years, maintained themselves eternally as small as children. They were not at all duplicitous, and they entered the doors exactly as little children entered places without any idea of what is to trespass. That is child's nature. A child can enter any place and no one checks him. Indeed, a child is generally welcome in his attempts to go to places. But if it so happens that a child is checked from entering a door, he naturally becomes very sorry and angry. That is the nature of a child. In this case, the same thing happened. The childlike saintly personalities entered all the 6 doors of the palace, and no one checked them before, and therefore, when they attempted to enter the 7th door and were forbidden by the doormen who checked them with their sticks, they naturally became very angry and sorrowful. An ordinary child would cry, but because these were not ordinary children, they immediately made preparations to punish the doorman. For the doorman had committed a great offense. Even to this day, a saintly person is never checked from entering anyone's door in India. Hare Krishna.
These 4 great sages, they just saw the open door and simply wanted to enter. They had never idea of this is ours and this is theirs. They had been already welcomed in the 6 doors, but suddenly they were forbidden at the 7th door. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says the great sages, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat-kumāra, they are actually the first sons. This is where the creation began from Lord Brahmā. They are very, very old, but they maintained themselves as small children. And being a child, they were not at all duplicitous, neither very calculative. They saw exciting atmosphere, they saw open doors, they simply wanted to enter. Just like Prabhupada says, a child wants to enter anywhere and everywhere. And child is generally very encouraged. Just like the child is taking, the steps, the child will be always encouraged to walk wherever child wants to go. And this is how they wanted to go. And they were already successful entering the 6 doors of Vaikuṇṭha. No one had checked them. And when they attempted to enter the 7th door, they were forbidden by these 2 men. And thus, they became very sorrowful. Srila Prabhupada says, ordinary child will generally cry. But these were not ordinary children. They were the great sages in the form of the children. And thus they just reasoned amongst themselves and they prepared themselves to curse these 2 personalities, Jaya and Vijaya. All this discussion is coming with reference to the demigods asking Lord Brahmaji, my dear Brahmaji, why suddenly there is a darkness? And Brahmaji is explaining that these 2 Dwarpals, Jaya and Vijay, they are falling to the material world and therefore there is a darkness around. Okay, so, and why they are falling? The incidents goes there and therefore there is a description of Vaikuṇṭha and this instance of Chatushkumar entering the Vaikuṇṭha and cursing Jaya and Vijay. Text 30. तान् विक्ष्यवातरशनांश्चतुरश्कुमारान् वृद्धान् दशार्धवयसा विदितात्मतत्त्वान् वेत्रेण चास्य लयताम् अर्हणांस्तौ तेज विहस्य भगवत् प्रतिकूलशीलौ. Translation.
The 4 boy sages who had nothing to cover their bodies but that atmosphere looked only 5 years old, even though they were the oldest of all living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. But when the potters, who happened to possess a disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord, saw the sages, they blocked their way with their staffs, despite despising their glories, although the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands. Purport. The 4 sages were the firstborn sons of Brahma. Therefore, all other living entities, including Lord Shiva, are born later and are therefore younger than the 4 Kumaras. Although they looked like 5-year-old boys and traveled naked, the Kumaras were older than all other living creatures and had realized the truth of the self. Such saints were not to be forbidden to enter the kingdom of Vaikuṇṭha, but by chance the doorman objected to their entrance. This was not fitting. The Lord is always anxious to serve sages like the Kumaras, but in spite of knowing that this fact, the doormen astonishingly and outrageously prohibited them from entering.
Yes. So these 4 boys, They had nothing to cover their bodies but the atmosphere. They were in the Digambara state. And they looked exactly 5 years old, although they were the oldest creature within the universe. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, they are the firstborn sons of Brahma, the 4 sages. And after them, when they refused to procreate, Brahmaji became angry, and then through the anger of Lord Brahma, through Brukuti appeared Lord Shiva. So actually the sages are elder to Lord Shiva as well. But when these porters, okay, porters are the, these, our Jaya Vijaya. So whenever you are using the porter app, we can remember this pastime. Okay, the original porters are Jaya and Vijaya, who happen to possess the disposition quite unpalatable to the Lord. Why? Because the sages were eager to see the Lord, and if one is eager to see the Lord is also equally eager to see him. So Lord was also very eager to see. Sages were also very eager to see. But somehow these porters, these 2 personalities, Jaya and Vijay, they blocked their way. Although the sages did not deserve such treatment at their hands. Pratikula Shilau. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the 4 sages are the oldest personalities. Although they looked 5-year-old, they were older than all living creatures, including Lord Shiva. Just like the sages were very anxious to meet the Lord was also very anxious to meet the sages. And thus, in spite of knowing this, that the Lord is also anxious to meet the sages, because the sages are very anxious to meet the Lord, in spite of this, the doormen, they astonishingly and outrageously prohibited them from entering. And that angered the sages. So it's a pastime because, all these traits are never visible in Vaikuṇṭha. But somehow this is happening, and let's see what happens next. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
everyone.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Yeah.